Well, ahead of the talks on Thursday, the president of the EU Commission, Jean-Claude Juncker, said that he is certain that an agreement with Turkey can be reached by Friday. But earlier, European Council President Donald Tusk had some concerns.
Only if we all work together in a coordinated manner and keep our cool, we will achieve success. I am cautiously optimistic, but frankly speaking, more cautious than optimistic.
Well, joining me live now from Geneva is the UN Special Rapporteur for Migrants, Francois Crepeau. Many thanks for joining us, Francois. Tell me, what do you want to see?
Good afternoon.
What do you want to see agreed in Brussels?
Well, the problem with the present draft agreement is that it is premised on the immediate return of any migrant or refugee to Turkey from Greece or from international waters. The problem is that the return to Turkey might violate international obligations under the Refugee Convention or under other human rights treaties of Greece or of other European states. The only way to know whether it is possible to return someone to Turkey is to do an individualized assessment of protection needs. And this is exactly what the European states want to avoid in order to effectuate mass returns. Now, the problem is also that in the European Convention on Human Rights, mass refoulement is prohibited. And so there are a number of international law stipulations that might be violated very clearly if this agreement is put in place. On top of it, a few years ago, in the framework of the Dublin returns from states in Northern Europe to Greece, the European Court of Human Rights said that Greece was not a safe country for return of asylum seekers, for all asylum seekers. It may be a safe country for some, but not for all of them. And it could not be a policy of systematic return to Greece. And if Greece is not a safe country for return for all asylum seekers, I don't see how the court could evaluate, because it will come to the court at one point, that Turkey is a safe country for all returns. So I think there are a number of objections to such a deal and such a procedure as it is envisaged. And I fear that as soon as it is brought to the tribunals, because it will be brought to tribunals and courts, and it goes to the European Court of Human Rights or the European Court of Justice, those tribunals will say that it may or it will violate and it's therefore prohibited, which would mean the end of the system as it is being envisaged at present.
But surely they must all be aware of this law in Brussels. So why would they agree to something that is illegal?
Because it won't go to the European Court of Human Rights before 1, 2, or 3 years. And that might be the political time they need, the respite they need in order to diminish the number of arrivals in the meantime and ensure their political future. So that could be one of the reasons. My fear is also that such an agreement will actually not diminish the number of arrivals. It may disrupt the operations in the Aegean Sea, but it might also push the smugglers and the smuggling rings to change their operations, change their tactics, and maybe we will see a considerable number of arrivals again in Italy from Libya. And if we see that, well, there will be no agreement with Libya that would be similar to that with Turkey.
So what do you think the solution should be?
Well, what I've suggested to the Europeans in June 2015 is that, one, there should be immediately, and it should have started like 3-4 years ago, there should be immediately a resettlement program directly from transit countries. And I have suggested the number of 500,000 refugees coming to Europe, well distributed between all 28 countries, per year for 6 years, for a total of 3 million. This would mean for if we take only the population as a distribution key, and it's not the best distribution key, but if we take only that for to simplify the matter, it would mean 80,000 refugees for Germany, not 1 million, 80,000, 60,000 for France and the UK, 10,000 for Belgium. These numbers would be entirely manageable. It would be organized directly from transit countries. All the intelligence agencies would be able to do their security checks over there in time. People would arrive at the airport, not on the beach. It would not be chaos on the beach as we're seeing every time. No one would die on the Mediterranean, and this would take over the market from the smugglers.
Yes, but
this has to be announced. This has to be put in place.
Well, the problem is they did announce such a resettlement program in November of last year, but the problem is it's just not being implemented. Europe doesn't want to implement it. As you pointed out, there might be 1 or 2 countries like Germany who's willing to take these refugees in, but most of the rest of Europe doesn't want to take those refugees in. So how do you deal with that?
Well, I think that's the problem. I think we have a problem of political will here. I think states want to send the message to their electorates that more people will not come. Unfortunately, I think that they cannot do it. We have entered, and we see it on the images on the television are very clear. We see that these people are mobile, and the geography of Europe does not allow it to do what in other parts of the world has been done, which is to stop people on boats. The geography of Europe is such that it is reachable by many, many points of entry. So European countries will, I believe, will not be able to reduce considerably the number of arrivals. Either they organize them, and that's what I would suggest, or they suffer them because it's organized by the other people. When you have people who are in need of mobility, well, mobility services will be offered, either by states if they want to take over the market, or by smuggling rings if states refuse to offer the mobility services that these people need.
Okay, Francois, many thanks for your time. Francois Crepeau from the UN Special Rapporteur for Migrants joining us there from Geneva. It'll obviously be a very difficult couple of days in Brussels, indeed.